Hey guys, welcome back. In this Blender video, we're going to model this mechanical sprocket carrier shape. This is a good practice model, especially for working on clean topology while building mechanical forms. So without wasting any time, let's jump right in. First, add a circle. And over here, set it to 6 vertices to turn it into a hexagon shape. Now we'll subdivide this circle so we have more geometry to add the details nicely. So go into edit mode, press W to open this menu, and choose Subdivide. Now adjust the number of cuts here. Increase it until the circle becomes around 48 vertices, which you can see here at the bottom. This gives us enough geometry so we can add the details cleanly and keep the topology nice and even. And here we can add the pole and extrude it out to the correct size nicely, and also add the other details more precisely. Now extrude this inwards, then use Loop Tool's circle to make it properly circular. Now scale it and adjust the size. Then go into front view and move it up slightly. Move and scale it nicely to match the reference. Now extrude it inwards and then extrude it down. Next, select this edge and extrude it out. Then go into front view and move it down. Don't move it all the way down, keep it slightly above. Now here, we want this part to be nicely sloped, but right now it isn't. So dissolve this edge, then again add an edge cut. Press E to make the loop follow the angle of one of the sideways edges. If it follows the wrong side, press F to flip it to the other side. Then slide it and place it into position. Next, select this edge loop and use Loop Tool's circle to make it circular. Now extrude it down, and here, snap it to this bottom part so it aligns with the bottom and both are equal. For this, here at the top, set the snapping type to vertex, then snap it nicely so it lines up perfectly. Now extrude it out like this. Next, over here on this part, add a cut. Now we'll extrude this part down and cut a hole in this area. So select the faces where it needs to be, then extrude it down on the Z-axis. After that, press SZ0 to flatten it. Then move it down and snap it with this part so it aligns with the bottom part and stays perfectly straight. Okay, now let's look at this section here. You can see this edge is slanted inwards a little bit. It is not perfectly straight where it is supposed to be. If we go into top view, and here you can see the slant very clearly, now we need to make this perfectly straight, but we have to do it without destroying the original shape of the model. First, let me show you what happens if we do it the wrong way. If we select this vertex, press slide, and try to snap it to the bottom vertex, you can see it snaps to the completely wrong place. Okay, what if we slide it and just eyeball it? It might look close, but it will not be perfectly straight. Now, what if we go up here and change the orientation to view? Let me explain quickly what view does. It makes your tools align with the direction your screen is facing, instead of following the global 3D axes. So if we use view, and then move and snap it straight to the bottom vertex, yes, it is straight now. But look at the shape. It has changed from the original shape. We don't want that. So here is how you actually do it perfectly. I'll show you 2 ways. Here's the first way. Grab the knife tool. We're going to make a straight cut across on the x-axis. Make the cut. Now we have that point. So now we can take our slanted vertex, slide it, and snap it to this new point. We just do this one vertex at a time like this. And now you can see it is perfectly straight. Okay, so now I'll show you how to do it using another method, which is also really useful. First, select this edge over here, the one we know is already perfectly straight. Then go up to the orientation menu and click this plus icon. What this does is it uses the direction of the selected edge and creates a custom orientation based on that angle. So now our tools can follow the exact same direction as that edge. So now you can see when I move this edge on the y-axis, it moves in the same direction as the edge. Now with this custom orientation active, grab the knife tool again, start the cut, and press the axis key, in this case y-axis, and make the cut. Because we created that custom orientation, the cut now follows the exact direction of that straight edge. So the cut will be perfectly straight. Now we can slide the slanted vertex and snap it to the new cut. And now it is perfectly straight. We still have a few extra vertices from the knife cut, so let's remove them. First, up here at the top, turn on Auto Merge. Now merge these vertices that are not connected. For the other vertices, just slide them over and merge them here, so everything stays clean and connected. Then here, add a loop cut. And here, select these vertices and use Loop Tool Space. Now here, just slide this vertex a little, and that looks good. Next, add 2 loop cuts here. Then with the knife tool, make a cut from here like this. And then again with the knife tool, add another cut over here. Now just slide this vertex a bit. The rest of the sides will simply mirror and duplicate later. Now we'll see how to make the cuts on the sides. First, select this vertex, then do cursor to selected to bring the 3D cursor here. Now add a cylinder. Then scale it so it fits nicely to cut this part. To scale this properly, first select this vertex and do cursor to selected. Then go over here and change the pivot point to 3D cursor. Now when we scale, it will scale from that point. And now we can scale and adjust the cylinder nicely so it fits the cut. Then separate the cylinder by selection to make it a separate object. After that, bring the cursor back to the world origin. Now select the cylinder, press Alt-E, and choose Spin to duplicate copies all the way around. Here, check the box, use duplicates, and adjust the number of copies. We need 6 copies. Now we'll cut this using a Boolean, and we'll use the Bool tool add-on for this, so enable it in Preferences. So now, first select the duplicated cylinders, then select the main mesh that we want to cut. Now press Ctrl-Shift-B and choose Difference, but you can see it didn't cut properly. Let's see why. If we turn on face orientation over here, you can see the mesh is red, which means the normals are facing the wrong direction. So select the full mesh and press Shift-N to recalculate the normals. If it still looks wrong, check this box here, and now it should be correct. Also apply the scale. Now for these cylinders, after using the spin tool, the start and end points overlap, creating duplicate faces at the join. You can see the extra geometry right here. So select everything, press M and choose by distance to merge overlapping vertices, and that will fix it. Now again, use the Boolean to cut this, and now you can see it cuts perfectly. After that, just slide, merge, and dissolve these vertices to remove all the unnecessary ones here. Now with the knife tool, add a cut here. Then select this edge and use Loop Tool's Space to space the vertices evenly. If you want to straighten and flatten this edge, press W, then choose Set Flow, Set Linear. This will flatten the line, but for this we'll keep that slight curve. To use that tool, make sure the Edge Flow add-on is downloaded and enabled. Then space this edge as well. Now here, we'll add the circular hole. We could do that by inserting this part inwards, or else we can do it this way by joining these edges. Then select the middle vertex, and vertex bevel it with Ctrl-Shift-B. After that, use Loop Tool Circle, then scale and fit the circle nicely here. Now delete the faces, then select this edge. It looks like there are some overlapping vertices here, so just merge them like this. Now select this edge and extrude it down a bit. Then select this middle edge, move it down, and snap it with this part so it aligns straight with it. Next, select the top faces of this part, duplicate them, and move them down, snapping them to the bottom part. Now select both of these edges and go over here and choose Bridge Edge Loops. Then select these edges and press F to fill. Selecting this edge, keep pressing F, filling the faces until you reach here. Then add a few loop cuts over here. And on this part, also add a few loop cuts. Here, let's make this circular hole slightly smaller. Okay, now let's mirror and duplicate copies of this all around. First, select these side areas, all around to delete them for the mirror, and then delete them. Now select the full mesh, then go over here in Mesh and choose Symmetrize. This will mirror it on the other side nicely, and here you can change the axis depending on how it is needed. Now we'll duplicate copies all around. Select the entire mesh, press Alt-E and choose Spin, then check the box Use Duplicates and adjust the number of copies. After that, select everything, press M, and choose By Distance to merge overlapping vertices. Now we'll bevel all the sharp edges. First apply the scale and then recalculate the normals to avoid any problems. Now select any sharp edge, then go over here and choose Sharp Edges. This will select all the sharp edges. Here you can adjust the angle to control which edges are selected. Now manually select any edges that were missed and deselect the ones you don't want to bevel. These edges here, we don't want to bevel them. So deselect them because that part is not completely sharp, it's slightly rounded, and the side loops will keep it tight after subdivision. Once everything looks good, bevel the edges. Then here set the profile shape to 1, also uncheck Loop Slide, and here choose Arc, so it looks something like this here. Now add a subdivision surface modifier. Then shade smooth the object. Now let's see how to fix this arc part. I'll show you 2 ways. First, using the knife tool, add a cut like this. Then dissolve this middle edge, and that's it. However, the symmetry line in the middle gets removed, which isn't ideal if we want to mirror it again later. So we'll use the other method instead. So for that, add a knife cut like this. Then dissolve these 2 edges. And now this is good. Finally, just move and space these vertices a bit so this part looks even and clean. And now this is perfectly done, as you can see. Now, just mirror copies of it using the Spin tool, the same way we did earlier by deleting the side parts and then using Spin. And this looks great. Okay, so this looks slightly thinner, so just scale it on the Z-axis a little to give it a bit more height here. Now here in the middle, we'll try to minimize or optimize the geometry so everything stays even. You can do this or leave it, depending on your needs. So let's see how. First, add a loop cut here. Then slide these vertices like this and merge them here. Do the same thing all around. Once you have connected and merged all the vertices all around, then after that, select all these middle edges and dissolve them. Then select these edges as well and dissolve them. Now you can see how we have reduced the geometry here. On the bottom side, do the same thing. Slide the vertices, merge them, then select these edges and dissolve them. Then dissolve all these middle edges all around the same way I showed you. And now we have minimized the geometry. Okay, now here what we can do is select this middle edge loop all around, then slide it inwards and merge it here. Then select this edge and slide it into the middle. And here add a loop cut to keep this tight. And now this is fine and looks great. Here, select these edges. And then use loop tools space to space them evenly. Alright, that's it. We're done modeling this shape and it came out really nice. I hope you found this helpful and learned something useful along the way. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, feel free to comment below and share your feedback. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.